then we're done. Exponents, comma, order of operations. And maybe I'll talk about average too. How do you find the average? So let's start with exponents first. If I write 2 to the power of 4, what does that mean? 2 times 2, how many times? 4 times, yes. It's not 2 times 4, it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. What's 2 times 2? 4 times 2, that's 8 times 2, that's 16. If we write 5 squared, it means what? 5 times 5, 2 times, which is 25. If I write 3 to the 4th, it's 3 times 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times, which is 9 times 3, 27 times 3, that's 81. So that's what exponent is. And you can go back and forth. What do I mean by that? If I said you have this expression, you can write that. How many 3's do you see here? 5, that's 3 to the power of 5, times, how many 5's do you see here? 3. So 3 to the 5th times 5 to the 3rd. You can't put them together. 3's and 5's are different. You can multiply each one, get the answer to it, and multiply them out. So if you want to know what the answer to this, you multiply this piece, which is, I think, 243, and you multiply this one, which is what? 125. And if you multiply the two answers, I'll cheat here, because I'm assuming you know how to multiply. 243 times 125, and the result will be 30375. So if you want to simplify, that's the only thing you can do. But you can't go, that's something else. You multiply the 3's, you get one number, multiply the 5's, get a number, then multiply the two answers to get your answer. Now, the reason we're looking at that, because the order of operations. Now, let's look at order of operations. So that's exponents. By the way, before I go to order of operation, if I said to you, what is 1 to the power of 5? 1. No, 1 times 1 times 1, 5 times. Right? Which is 1. What's 1 to the power of 2? 1, I said. I wrote 3. What's 1 to the power of 2? Which is what? 1. So 1 to any power is really a 1. Doesn't matter what the power is, because 1 times 1 is many times. Just like 0. What's 0 to the power of 5? Better be 0, because it's 0 times 0 times 0 times 0, 5 times. What is 0 to the power of 3? That's a 0. Just things to remember. If you see 0 to a power, it's always 0. If you see 1 to a power, it's always a 1. So here's the order of operations. First thing we do is what? The first thing you have to do, you do the parentheses first. So you do what's inside the parentheses first. Now parentheses could be parentheses like this, or it could be a brackets. If you have two sets of them, you work from the inside out. You'll see some examples today. After that, after you finish all the parentheses, what do we do? Exponents or power, whatever you want to call them. After the exponents, what do we do? Multiplication or division. Multiplications or divisions. Now, which one do you do first?
Multiplication.
Let me try again. Which one do you do first?
Division.
Well, someone said doesn't matter. Nope. Well, no, assuming there's no parentheses. I have a problem like 10 divided by 5 times 2. You see this, which one do you do first?
The division.
Why division?
Because this is the subdivision.
You go left to right, correct. So the order you do multiplication and division, you go left to right. So if you see division first, you divide. If you see multiplication first, you multiply. So in this case, you'll do the division first, 10 divided by 5, which is what? 2 times 2, that's a 4. And the last one is what? Addition and subtraction. Again, you go left to right. So here's the order of operation. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition, subtractions. If you put them together, you end up with PEMDAS. If you move them all together, it becomes PEMDAS. What is PEMDAS? Some of you learned that in high school.
Is it like, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally?
Yes, it is. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's where it came from. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That gives you the order of operations. But you do parentheses first. That's the first thing you do. We do exponents second. We do multiplication, division third. And we do addition, subtractions fourth. If you remember that order, we can do any order of operation. Again, if you have more than one set of parentheses, you work from inside out. So I'm going to take a few minutes, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and do some examples. Let's take this problem. What's 10 minus 7.2? I mean 7 times 2, not 0.2.
You multiply.
Remember the order of operation. Multiplication is done before addition, subtractions, right? So I got to multiply these two. What's 7 times 2? 14. What is 10 minus 14? That's it. You know what? We didn't discuss negative numbers yet. Let me change that to 18. You're right, it is negative 4. But we didn't discuss negative numbers yet, so I'll wait on that till we get to them. I wasn't thinking. So now what's 18 minus 14? That's a 4. Let's try another one. 2 times 8 plus 4 times 3. You got to multiply that first. 2 times 8, 16. Plus, you got to multiply these. 4 times 3. What's 16 plus 12? 28. Let's make the problem bigger now. Three plus 2 times 8 plus 3 squared.
So you do exponents.
you got to do what's inside the parentheses first. When you're inside the parentheses, you still got to follow the order of operation. That's true. So you got to do the exponents before the addition. What is 3 squared?
9.
9 plus 8. You got to do that first. What's inside the parentheses? What's 8 plus 9? So the problem becomes 17. Here's the times. There's the 2. There's the plus. There's the 3. So I'm replacing what's inside the parentheses with 17. Now do this one. 2 times 17, which is what? 34. Add to it the 3. What's 3 plus 34? 37. 4 plus 1 squared times 6 minus the 4. Again, parentheses always first. What's 4 plus 1? 5. So this becomes 5 squared times 6 minus the 4. Parentheses first. What's 5 squared? 25. Exponents now. 25 times 6 minus the 4. You got to do the multiplication first. 25 times 6. 150. Take away the 4. 146. So step by step, we follow the order of operations. Exponents first. The parentheses first, exponents second, multiplications or divisions left to right, addition or subtractions left to right. And if you have more than one set of parentheses, then you work from the inside out. Let's take a look at that. Let's say I have this problem. 5 times square brackets 4 times parentheses 10 minus 3 squared close parentheses minus the 2 close the square bracket. Remember, work from the inside out. You have 2 set of parentheses. We're just using brackets and parentheses. This is 1 and that's 1.
That doesn't mean simplest form, right? No, the other ones are the straight do.
Which one?
When you do simplest form, it's just like the straight lines, right?
Straight line.
Yeah, for simplest form, like when it's negative, we change it to positive. Does anybody know what I'm talking about?
No.
Simplest form?
Well, you're trying to find a number and answer to this.
No, I was just saying, do they use those same lines? Never mind, you don't get it.
Okay. No, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
You know when you have like a negative 4, and they say you write it in simplest form, but it has like the lines next to it, so you just put it as number 4 without the negative.
So let's work from the inside out. I think it was a rough weekend for you.
It actually was pretty fun.
So I got to do what's inside the parentheses. Again, while you're inside the parentheses, you got to work on the order of operations. You got to do the exponents first. So this will be 10 minus, what's 3 squared? 9. Now you got to simplify that first. 10 minus 9, which is what? 1. So we did the inner parentheses. Now let's simplify our one. The square brackets. You have multiplications and you have what? Subtractions. You got to do the multiplications first. What is 4 times 1? 4 minus the 2. 4 minus 2 is what? 2. Multiplied by a 5, what's the answer? 10. I'll do another one like it. Four plus 3 parentheses 2 cubed minus 5 close the bracket, times 10. Again, work from the inside out. I gotta deal with this one. So square bracket, 4 plus 3. Inside the parentheses, I gotta do the exponents before the subtraction. What is 2 cubed? It's not 6, is it what? 8. 2 times 2 times 2. I'm not done simplifying the inner one. What's 8 minus 5? 3. So we simplified the first set of parentheses. Now let's simplify the second set, the brackets. What's inside them? I got to do the multiplication before the addition. What's 3 times 3? 9.
Wait, why are you gonna do the addition?
Why what?
You're gonna do the
Multiplication first?
no addition and then the multiplication.
Add what, 4 plus 3?
Yeah, why didn't you do like 3 times 3 or something like that?
I'm going to do
We're not done with the 3 yet.
that 3, we're done with it. The inside of this is equal to 3.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
still,
but
but it's still in
still.
quotations.
Oh, you can erase them.
Oh.
That quotation means multiplications. When you have the parentheses on a number, it means multiplication. Remember when we talked about multiplication?
So then what does it
We said if you have, let me just take you back quickly. We said you can write multiplication like this. You can say 2 times 3. You can write that 2 times 3 like this. Or you can write that 2 times 3 like this. Or you can write that 2 times 3. All of these means multiplications. When I say simplify what's inside the parentheses, when you only have a number inside that, you can't simplify it anymore. That means multiplications.
So the 3 and the 4 are just their own thing right there?
The 4 plus
The 3.
3 times the 3.
Yeah,
That's
but
what that
still
means.
You gotta do the 3, right?
Huh?
You gotta multiply it.
You gotta multiply. That's what I did. That's why it's a 9.
Right.
Oh,
You're still gonna do it first, right?
You gotta do multiplication, yes. The multiplication before the addition. So you gotta multiply these two before you can add.
Alright.
Because the order of operation, multiplication, division, addition,
I
subtraction.
thought you were gonna do like
Yep.
4 plus
Nope.
3.
So you do the multiplication before you add. So 3 times 3, which is 9. Now, what's 9 plus 4? 13. Again, if you put times here 10, you can't really simplify what's inside that, the 13. You can write it 13 times 10. It doesn't matter if you put brackets, parentheses, or without them. And what is 13 times 10? 130. So that's the order of operation that we follow. We have one more topic in this section because our book says we're going to talk about exponents, order of operations, and what? Averages. So let's talk about averages. Average. Another word for average, anyone knows what we call the average? There's another word for it. Yes, mean. Let's say you take an English class and these are your test scores, or you wrote some papers and these are your scores on the 3 articles that you wrote. 75, 82, and 91. Notice you improved every week. Should be improving. What is your average on these assignments? What's the mean? How do we find it? You add them and divide by 3. And I didn't think about these numbers. Hopefully you can divide them by 3 without a decimal, because we did not cover a decimal. But I'll cheat here. I'll just use a calculator. So it's 248 For homework, they're going to give you numbers you can divide because we didn't cover decimals yet. That's coming up. But if you can use a calculator, if you divide it by 3, you have 82.7. Again, we did not cover decimal numbers yet. If I thought about this better, I would have made this a 92. Then when you divide them, that's an 83 even. No decimal value. But that's how we find the average or the mean of anything. So as you add all the values to find the average, you add all the values and you divide by what? The number of values. That's your average. So if these are your quiz scores, 80, 70, 75, 60, and you didn't take the last one, so you got a 0 on it. What is your average? Don't you add them and divide by what? 4 or 5? 5. So if you don't take the last one, that's your problem. You know? It's not, we're not going to drop it.
Yeah.
So if you do the math, that's what? 285 divided by 5, which is what? 57. So your average is 57 for that one.